I just finished a job and I officially have no work, and I haven't even washed my face yet today, so it's a perfect time to do a Q&A video. We are back in my lovely car because it's the only place at the moment that has decent lighting, so you can see my gorgeous face. So this Tuesday, I asked for questions about being an exchange student in Japan, and now I'm going to answer them. So Feathers Fox asked, what program did you go through to become an exchange student? I went through Rotary International, and I really liked the experience. They're a really good organization to use. And I think the video I made about that is coming out 2 days from now, so look for that. Myri asks, did you ever have to respond to or fill out paperwork from the government? If so, how did you go about that with the internet not being what it is today? Yeah, never fear. Any kind of like government paperwork or anything, A, it'll have everything in English on the forms, and B, if you're a student, like, you know, barely an adult, if you're young, my host family and the Rotary Club basically helped me fill out all the paperwork, so that was easy. As an adult, though, like if you go through some kind of organization like JET or anything, they tend to help you with that kind of stuff, so don't worry about that. Okay, and then I had like three different people ask me questions about friends, and they're all kind of similar questions. So Alex asked, did you find it difficult to make friends? And then Rod asked, is it possible to become real friends with Japanese people? And then Timid asked later, do you still keep in contact with friends from Japan? So friends. I mentioned this in passing in a few other videos I did about my year in Japan, but I didn't really make many or any friends. It's just kind of who I am. Like, I have a very hard time making friends, even in America. I just moved to Washington like 3-4 months ago, and I haven't made any friends. But most of that's on me. I didn't try really to make friends when I was in Japan, and I'm not trying to make friends right now either. I'm content to just stay home all day with my partner and our cats and myself, and I'm very introverted and I like just entertaining myself. So that's part of it. It wasn't like, oh no, it's so hard to make friends in Japan. It's like, no, I'm just socially awkward and an introvert, so I didn't really make friends. But yeah, you can make friends if you're an outgoing kind of person. Like most of the other exchange students in my group made lots of friends because they're more outgoing than I am. And especially if you join some kind of after-school club, that's basically where I made any of my sort of friends. I was starting to become friends with people in my Japanese folk dancing club by the end of the year, but like it took that long. It took like a whole year for me to finally sort of start making friends with people. And I didn't keep in contact really with any of them. We did exchange addresses, like me and a few others, and we did write a few letters back and forth, but like after a few months it tapered off. You know how it is. And this was before the internet was super big. It was before social media. So later, like super after the fact, one of the guys in my exchange group from America, well, from San Jose actually, the town I was from, he found me on Facebook. And then one of his friends that he made in Japan, she found me also in Facebook. But I barely knew her while I was there. But like, looks like she has a great life now. She's like traveling all over the world, and like, I don't know how she can afford it all, but it's really cool. And then the other guy who was an exchange student with me, he's doing a lot of really cool art right now. And of course, I'm still in contact with my friend that I had before I was an exchange student. She was our exchange student when I was 7. And we, you know, my family and I kept in contact with her throughout the years. And I still am in contact with her. I mean, I have her on Facebook and Twitter and everything. And yeah. Oh, and as far as like, is it possible to make real friends with Japanese people? I've seen like permutations of this question asked like here and there throughout the internet. People seem to think that Japanese people are either like too superficial or too obsessed with status or like latently racist or something to become real friends with people that are not Japanese. That's just not true. You can become friends with Japanese people. You can become real friends with Japanese people. Okay, and then Timid asked other questions beside the friends question, like 4 questions total. So question 1, were you treated differently? Yes. I was the only white person in town. I was in a small rural town, and I was 2 years older than all my classmates. So like, again, like there's that distance already because I was, 2 years older than them all. They saw me as kind of like someone to be respected and kind of kept at a distance. And I didn't like that, like, a lot of people use the san honorific with me. Even people older than I am, they used san. And I was disappointed. I wanted them to use chan because I see myself as a chan. I'm, like, silly and weird and dorky, but they all called me san, like, reverently. Like, I don't know, san isn't really as polite as most Westerners think it is. It's kind of just a generic term of sort of respect. But yeah, I was kind of kept at a distance. And then Timid also asked, how was the schoolwork? Half of it, I didn't actually even do the schoolwork. Anything that was very bookish, like math or history or like Japanese or science, I just didn't do the work at all. I just sat in the class. And Japanese classes are very like the teacher just lectures at the kids. They don't really participate. Like there's tests and maybe there's some homework and papers, but like it's mostly just the teacher standing there and lecturing. So during those kinds of classes, I just read manga the whole time, or my host mom got me some kanji workbooks for second and third graders, and I worked on those. So I just did my own stuff for those classes. But classes where I could participate, like cooking, sewing, Japanese arts, wasai, tea ceremony, PE, any of those kinds of classes, I participated, and it was fine. It was easy enough because it was all stuff I was interested in anyway. I went to an agricultural high school, incidentally. So my particular class, we're more focused on like culture and care for the elderly. So yeah, it was more like hands-on, low-key, houseworky kinds of classes, which is all stuff that I'm interested in and good at anyway, so it was cool. Later on in the stay, in April, when I became a sannensei, which is a third-year student, I knew Japanese well enough that I could start to participate. Like, I had new teachers as well, and they weren't going to take my bullshit. My math teacher was like, what are you talking about? You can do math. It's numbers. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. And so I started actually participating a little more in the other classes. But it didn't matter if I didn't have to take any of the tests, for example, and I didn't get grades really or anything because I had already graduated high school in America. So I wasn't really there for school credit anyway. I was just there for culture and language. And then Timid also asked, did I ever get in trouble? Not really. I was a really good kid. I'm like boring, I guess. I never drank or smoked or partied or anything. I just wasn't into that stuff. The one time I did sort of get in trouble it was just a miscommunication issue. It was towards the end of my stay. I was staying with my fourth host family, and I was going to go out to dinner with my first host family and some other Rotarians, and I had forgotten to tell my fourth host family that I was going to go out to dinner that night. And like, I had forgotten, but I had also just kind of assumed, like, oh, you know, the other Rotarians probably told her. She probably knows. And then my first host family assumed that I had told my fourth host family that I was going out to dinner. And it's like, yeah, I should have done that. But no one told my fourth host family that I was going out to dinner. And so they didn't know where I was. And like, after we came back, like, there was a lot of bowing at the waist level and profuse apologies from my first host mom. And I felt really bad because I felt like it was more my fault. Like, it was barely her fault at all. It was mostly my fault. But given the structure of their culture and the fact that she's older than I am and like responsible for me, like in their eyes, it was her fault, not my fault. But I was like, no, dude, it's my fault. But that was the closest I ever got to like getting in trouble. And then MR Volgrim, however you pronounce that. Did you have any doubts about your decision for enrolling in the program during your stay in Japan? Nope. I mean, I had maybe some doubts like before I left because I was a little worried. Well, you know, you're always just apprehensive. I'm going to be in another country for a whole year and I've never been away from my parents for that long. I'm just a kid. And I was also really worried that they were going to send me to like, you know, France or some country that I didn't ask to go to, because that does happen sometimes. But once I was there, I didn't have any doubts. It felt like I was in the right place doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. So that was it for this week's Q&A Tuesday. I'm going to be doing one more Q&A Tuesday this month, so next week, next Tuesday. And this is just general Q&A. If you have any questions about anything, it can be about Japan, it can be about being an exchange student, it can be about translating Japanese, it can be about cats, it can be about food, it can be about, I don't know, trees. Whatever you want to ask me questions about, you can ask me. Leave them in the comment section below, or I'll probably do a community post. If you're subscribed to me, you'll probably see that. And if you have me on Facebook or Twitter, I will also ask there. See ya tomorrow.